This is a pure water podcast.
Love it.
So there's two of us that are water treatment experts, and we just dive into anything drinking water related, contamination, filtration, purification, everything in between. We almost had a plumber be like permanently with us on our podcast, but he decided not to join us. We'll interview him later about that, and we'll really troll him hard about it. No, he probably has a different side of that story that we'll share. But today, you're here with me, Spencer. This is Brian, and we've got an awesome guest today with us. We've got Mike McEwen of McEwen Realtors, and also with Kestrel Property Solutions. But McEwen Realtors is like your bread and butter, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give us a short intro on yourself?
For sure, yeah. So I've personally been in real estate 5 or 6 years. And then my wife, though, she's like she's the brains, right? I'm just like the looks. And
you are the looks.
Thank you. And she's been doing real estate for about 14 years. She started in California where we were living, and then we moved to Utah. And she saw how well the market was doing, so jumped in feet first, got her licensing, and has just killed it ever since, right? Top producer, like first year she started here.
Wow.
And then we saw how busy she was, and so I quit my job working at a call center and jumped into real estate with her. And so the main focus of what our job has been residential sales. But then a couple of years ago, we started doing property management for some out-of-state buyers who had property here, and they're like, "Do you know any good property managers?" And we're like, "Actually, no. So we'll do it for you," and kind of learned on the fly. But it's been super cool.
So you covering all of Utah? Where are you at?
Yeah, we mostly focus like Salt Lake, Utah County, because that's just like close to us. But if you find somebody like if they're Park City or they want to go look up north, like in Logan or even far south as like St. George, we'll typically outsource some of those because like we're not the experts in that market. We want to make sure you're getting the best representation possible. So we'll help you find somebody there that can help you, and if it's far away.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So with you being in like the realty and over all that, where do you ever see like a need for the water softeners, water systems, filtration? Is that something that ever comes up with your clients? Is that something you've seen in properties sell better?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the first things, like let's say I walk in, let's say you're selling your house, right? And I'm going to ask you like, what are some of the upgrades you've done to the home so that I can price your home accordingly, and I want to market all like the big key factors. And you're like, yeah, I have a full house water filtration system. I have a water softener. I'm definitely going to market that heavily in the notes on the MLS.
Like, do I have a trampoline? Is it underground?
Right. Not even that.
Raise the price.
Yeah, no, that like lowers the price because you're going to break a leg. Yeah. No, but like that's one of those things too that people, does it have a water softener, and are they leaving it? Because you can technically take it with you if you note it in the contract ahead of time, but it is mandatory. Well, not mandatory. It's standard that it stays. Yeah. Unless you specifically ask for it not.
In fact, that house we were in this morning, it was they took theirs. You could see where it was, and the current homeowner is not thrilled about that. Yeah. He would have wanted it.
The old contract made it negotiable. The new contract makes it so, this is probably like 5 or 6 years ago, that it has to stay unless you specifically note it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see that like having a water softener or water filter, like does that increase the price of the home, or does it make it more like, are people more willing to buy it? Both? Like, does it?
I think if you had two houses, apples to apples, right, and one had a water filtration system and one didn't, I think people would lean towards the water filtration system because, first of all, they know it's an expense if they want to have one put in. Yeah. And so to have it already there is a huge boon.
Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, are the people you're talking to, they realize what the water quality situation is in this area?
Everyone knows that we have hard water, and if you live like where I live up in Daybreak, right, everyone knows the water's like borderline toxic at times.
It's rough up there, man.
Right, but like, and you know, so if you get anyone who's like health conscious at all, or like very aware of that, then they're going to be wanting to know, like, does the home have a water system, or can it easily be installed?
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because you're not from Utah. How was the water from where you're from?
So I grew up in California. I actually grew up on a well.
Oh, you were.
I grew up on a well. I grew up in the country, like dirt roads, middle of nowhere. Yeah,
like where I am now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I grew up on a well. So that was super cool. But then when I moved into the city as an adult, like tastes like chlorine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tastes
You
like
know?
a pool.
And so that was kind of a bummer.
Mhm.
And so, but you don't hear a lot of filtration. At least I never heard of a lot of people having it out there. But it's much more common here in Utah for people to be wanting that filtered water.
Yeah, especially up in Daybreak, like you were saying. I
Yeah.
just pulled up, like, yeah, that water does get near.
What's it looking like?
I mean, from EWG, you're 233 times the EWG guideline on arsenic, 62 times on chloroform.
That's why I sleep so well.
Yeah.
On chloroform.
The good thing is,
knocks you right out.
185 times the limit on haloacidic acids. Yeah. Anyway, it is good water up there, especially once
Nice and
you
crunchy.
you just keep your teeth shut when you suck your water through.
Get a little extra filtration. Is anything you
No,
can
but
do?
yeah, the good thing is, Mike, you've got a nice system in your house.
We do, yeah. We've been
And
super happy with it. Like,
Glad.
Good.
Yeah, because you have whole house carbon filtration, so you're hitting chlorine, chloramines, synthetic hormones, pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, forever chemicals, VOCs, bad tastes, bad odors.
Yeah.
You're kind of that's one of my favorite systems. If the carbon is deep enough and big enough, it can do really, really miraculous things with your water.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that I could get like drinking water from the tap if I need to.
Yes.
You know, like it's just I know that all the water through the whole house is in good shape.
You can get it from back of the toilet if you
Yeah,
want.
back of the toilet.
You know, worst case
Fill
scenario.
up a glass. Where do you think this came from?
Yeah, I know.
But and you're softening as well.
Also, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and if you build a softener right, it tastes good.
It does.
Yeah, no, we've had no issues at all with it. We've been really happy with
That's
it.
awesome. I mean, if he did have an issue, we wouldn't invite him. There's no way
Right.
he'd be here right now. I'm just kidding.
Actually, now that you mention it, no. I'm just kidding.
He's like, I was hoping to get on the hot mic.
Right, I wanted to get like really in before I threw it out there.
Like, just go unedited. Just rip us with a bad review.
Oh no, it
That
would
would be
never.
bad. That would be bad.
I would never. No, you guys were fantastic to work with, and I know that the system is like really like top notch. So, highly recommend.
Well, we really like you, Mike, and we're excited to work with you moving forward. I know this isn't water related.
Ooh.
Should we tell him the story about when he almost scared the life out of me?
Oh, that was
Yeah.
so great.
This story.
Around Christmas time, I'm going to start this.
I've never been so scared in my life. Just that's your teaser trailer.
We're driving around looking for a dry cleaner so I can take my suit to get dry cleaned. And like, I can't find anything. I pull up on Google. There's one close.
Well, you're like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah. We go
Literally was. Yeah.
pulling into the parking lot with a bunch of homeless and like people all around the outside.
We found
of
the
it.
homeless area
Yeah. And
of
I'm like,
Provo.
I don't think this is where the dry cleaner's going to be. And I'm like, I'm going to go check it out. I walk inside, open the door. Mike's standing in the middle of a completely empty warehouse.
This place was this street was a most random place for you to be.
I'm like, Mike, what are you doing? So he goes, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, we're looking for a dry cleaner. And I'm like, hey, you should go scare Spencer. Because as we pulled in, they were like, this place is sketchy.
Yeah, I literally said while we were driving down that street, I'm like, I don't think there's a dry cleaner here, and I don't think we should be here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not
area.
a safe place to be.
It's not a safe place to leave my
I
suit.
mean, we have 3 men in the truck, and I'm still like, we're not safe. We're not safe right now.
So me and Mike devised a plan. As I went out, I got Spencer and what's your brother-in-law's?
Ethan.
Got their attention while Mike went around the side.
So
Mike
Brian
slams-
hops in the passenger seat, and I'm like, how's it going in there? He's like, yeah, it was crazy. He's like, there was somebody in there. I'm like, who? And then all of a sudden, bam! On this side, Mike's out of nowhere. And that,
Spencer
last place
squealed.
I expected to see you. Last place, and I was already thinking like,
He was ready for this is it.
You were ready to run.
like meth headed, just let's go. I almost slammed you with my door.
No, I believe it. I knew I was in some. I was taking a risk, but I was like, this is completely worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth
Well,
it.
and what was so random about that is I managed that whole like lot, like all the buildings
Oh,
there.
okay.
But I had never been in the dry cleaners building because that's not one I was managing at the time. Up until literally that day was the first time I'd been in the building. So here I
First
am,
time I
like
was in that building, too.
I know I'm in a giant vacant warehouse trying to figure out like getting the whole thing rekeyed because the tenants had like vacated, and someone's like, "Hey, Mike, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Who is talking to me? Like, no one should know who I
would
am
you be-
here."
Yeah, why would
So that was
anybody
that
do
was a
that?
very random day.
And so that was a dry cleaner, and they're just gone. Like they didn't make it.
No, they had some issues with the landlord, and I think the landlord gave him the boot.
They probably had some issues with their water. That's probably
That's
why.
I think there's a
was.
lot of there's a lot of issues with that building.
So on that side of it, then, like the property management side,
Yeah.
do you ever see a need or like, I don't know, do you ever run into water that's treated in your properties that you manage? That
So
way?
on the residential side, definitely you see a lot more. Commercial, not as much.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? That building did have a water softener in it, though.
Did
it?
That dry cleaner.
How big was it?
It was pretty big, I think. Like
Yeah, dry
it
cleaner
had a
uses a
big
ton of
tank, and
water.
it was taller than me. I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a pretty monster-sized thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely do see it. I would be curious to see like what restaurants would do, because like I do one of the buildings that I manage. I don't manage the restaurant, just the building of it.
Yeah.
And they have. I would imagine they could use something like that big time, just to like
Yep.
keep the water like soft and keep the wear and tear on their appliances and their dishware and stuff like that. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we've run into that with like a few restaurants where we want to soften their water,
Mhm.
and like they want to soften the water, and we try to talk them into like it would really benefit your patrons to like put in a carbon, put in something to like
Mhm.
treat the water. Most of them don't really want to spring for that, but they definitely like the soft water.
Yeah.
We've done a few of the chubbies, and like it helps a ton.
And unless there's somebody like the soda shop, but we
Yeah.
did. So that second episode of our podcast, we
Mhm.
interviewed that owner. Like they're not that concerned with the flavor of their drinks and
Yeah.
like going to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
so
extra expense,
the
yeah.
extra expense to make
Right.
it taste that much better.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's how restaurants are.
Yeah.
You find a restaurant with good drinks, you know where they are. It's not Wendy's.
No, it's definitely not Wendy's.
Not Wendy's. But okay, so Mike, so at your house, I was gonna go back to like,
Oh, yeah.
was it you or your wife that wanted filtration? I always wonder.
Let's see. We had a water softener in the previous house,
Okay.
and so we were kind of spoiled already at that point, right?
Yeah.
And then we moved into this one, and we're like, the water is like itchy, like. And so she's like, yeah, my hair doesn't feel quite as soft as it used to. So she was definitely an advocate for it. And so I kind of shopped around. Then I met you guys, and you told me what the pricing was like, and then we could do the carbon filtering. And I was like, no, we have to do this. Like,
Good.
especially with knowing what the water levels are in that area,
Yeah.
we were all about it. It was a team effort.
Yeah, that itchiness is a real thing. So, I mean, we've been spoiled now,
Mhm.
having our own custom softeners and having our water at 0.
Mm-hmm.
We were just down in St. George, so southern Utah. That's the desert. The hardness is
Insane.
wild. It's double the scale, so
Mhm.
it's in the 20s
Yeah.
of grains per gallon. And so, man, showering. I was at a nice. We were at a nice resort. We were at Sand Hollow Resort.
Mhm.
It's like really nice place. The shower was horrible. It was horrible for my hair. It was horrible for my skin.
Mine too.
I got an eczema breakout while I was down there.
Oh, fun.
So I'm currently dealing with some eczema problems
Mhm.
because of that 1 week
Dang.
going back to that hard of water.
No, I believe it.
And you always notice when like the water gets hard. Like I didn't really notice as much like when I went soft water, but like I definitely know when it's no longer soft.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, that something's not right. My skin's
Yeah.
itching.
Well, and I went my whole life not knowing
Soft water.
that soft water was a thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
my parents didn't know.
Uh-huh.
And now it's like, I'm like, I can never go back.
Spoiled.
I could never go back. We're
true.
spoiled now.
No. Well, and also like one of the things that bugs me is like when you look up at like the shower head, you can see like all the buildup, like all the calcium, whatever buildup that is, and it's like it looks terrible.
Mm-hmm. And so that'll be like probably the first sign for you or your family that you need to put some salt in your softener,
Mhm.
or that something's going wrong. So you'll get out in the shower. It'll always be the shower. That's the first time when my wife notices,
Yeah.
she'll hop out of the shower. Go check the system. I'm like, oh, yeah. that's
She
why.
knows.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows
It's bad.
Spencer forgot the salt.
It's bad. Well, that's what we get for sucking water out of the desert in Utah. Like we are sucking water
Right off the rock.
right off the rock. Lake Bonneville, that was here however many thousands and thousands
Yep.
of years ago. Like it's not. There's so much mineral
Oh yeah.
in that water.
And then we have the Salt Lake for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
the Salt
Still
Lake
here.
still here. Utah Lake still here.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
no. If they would clean it up.
Yeah.
I like Utah Lake looking at it from a distance.
Right. It could be really nice.
Yeah, going in it right
Yeah.
now. Algae blooms.
So I hear. I've never actually been in the lake.
Oh,
So
you haven't tried an algae bloom yet?
as tempting as it sounds, I've
You're
decided to
missing
pass out. I'm pass on that. Yeah.
You're missing out. There's big signs. You can't go out on the beach. Yeah. You're definitely not supposed to drink it.
Fun.
Wash your face. No. But bacteria. As a water treatment, guys, we love that. We love water bacteria. So we kill it. We know how to kill it. Yeah. Exactly. But anyway, so yeah, your wife hopefully is happy with that system too.
Yeah, I know she has
I know
been.
my wife is. My daughter, she's now become a water snob. I don't know if your family's become water snobs yet because of it.
I don't know what my kids have yet because they're just kind of oblivious to things at times. But like, I'm sure if we like pointed it out and like, hey, here's good water and then here's not good water, it would be the end of it. So
It will be the end of it. Like my daughter has to have her water bottle now everywhere. And she hates the taste of other water.
yeah.
She's like, the water at the church tastes so gross. I'm like, yeah, it does. It tastes like chlorine.
Huh.
It really does. And I can't drink it when I go play basketball.
No, you gotta take your own.
Yeah, it hurts my stomach. I'm such a
Ooh.
wuss now. Maybe this is bad. Maybe it's bad to
It's
clean up your
making you
water and
weak.
make it healthy. But
I know. I mean, my poor kids. At some point, they're gonna have to move out of my house, right?
Right.
And as they become adults, and they're gonna be like, "What's wrong with the water here?" Be like, "Oh, if you
true.
only knew.
yeah,
If you only knew what we did for you."
Yeah, and it's not getting better. Let's say it's where are we headed, right? Like with Utah's water.
It really depends on the water levels, but like if we continue in droughts, the Great Salt Lake is a big factor, especially in like arsenic levels and different things that way. If it were to dry up, that would be even worse. But yeah, like PFAS, the forever chemicals, all that things, like we're not completely infiltrated, I guess. Our levels are somewhat low in Utah, but they're going to continue to get worse over the next like 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's all, and that's all stuff that you'll be protected
And I've wondered,
against.
so if you've worked in Park City, if that ever comes up, because I know Park City being one of the hotbeds
Yeah.
for forever chemicals right now.
Yeah.
Does that ever come up with home buyers, homeowners?
I can't say that it has.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The few buyers that I've worked with in the area were out of state, so I don't think they quite from out of state, so they didn't quite know like
Yeah.
what to look for in that stuff. And honestly, neither did I. So that's definitely something that I can add to my skill set now.
And I would assume they hadn't seen the news, not being a Utah local. They didn't see the news in Park City of why they have a forever chemical problem.
I would imagine not. Yeah.
I mean, that came from snowboard wax, ski wax. Like that's,
Yeah.
it's full of forever chemicals. And so just over time, tons of snowboards and ski, however many hundreds of thousands, millions have come through and used it on their boards. That stayed on the mountain, stayed in the runoff.
Wow.
Eventually, now it's down into the water supplies.
They're called forever chemicals for a reason. They
Yeah.
don't go anywhere. So
Yeah. Dang.
And so it became a big news, a news piece a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And so I know Park City residents will mention it, but they're like the only ones that really are aware of forever chemicals.
yeah, and even their levels aren't like super high yet, but they will be.
They will be. So yeah, something to mention, I guess, if
Yeah.
you're working in Park City, those can be reduced to a safe level. Like we cannot break that down. Forever chemicals is a bond we cannot break down. So we're just kind of kicking that can down the road currently.
Right. To see if there's something else that can be done later, hopefully. Or
Yep, and that's the way like our systems work. Like the carbon just kind of grabs onto those in your house, like the forever chemicals in there, they get grabbed onto, and then every time your system does a regen, pushes it back out in the system. So you guys are okay. Where it goes after that, that's why those levels are going to continue to get higher and higher.
oh,
and
because it's
higher.
just being like recycled through the whole system
Yeah.
continuously.
So we're kicking the proverbial can down the road
Uh-huh.
But you
until
can
somebody
protect-
comes up with
Yeah.
a way to break it down.
But you can
Right.
protect your home, your
Yeah.
investments. And stuff
Right.
like
You don't
that.
need to drink it. Right.
Yeah. I feel like, I guess the question I would ask you guys actually is why don't builders just include them automatically, like water softener systems now? Because there's that would be the perfect time to install it because everything's already open. And
Yeah.
everybody knows we need it at this point.
And especially, like, and that'd be a question for Brady. We need to give him a mic. But
Give him he's up next as our next guest. And we'll just remember to ask that question.
yeah, but it is kind of funny because we ask ourselves that same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Like, especially now because the builders are putting in tankless water heaters,
Right.
That are like they almost have to have a water softener in order to not void the warranty. And we'll walk in and they'll like have this tankless water heater. They've had it for
Which I
3
love.
years and it's dead.
Part of me thinks though that it might not be a good idea for all builders to always put in the same systems.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes into play with like the way we do custom treatment.
Sure.
Because it's almost never the same household to household, person to person, what they want. And so in a lot of cases, yes, there are some systems like softener, carbon, point of use RO that we could recommend to most people.
Right.
But we're finding more and more people are concerned with different things in their water. We literally went to a home last night where we busted out our entire commercial lab test, tested all these analytes, and then while we're in the middle of the test, he goes, "Can you test for uranium and cobalt?" And I was like, "Why would you be worried about uranium in this area? This is not in a uranium area."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, we just had our hair follicles tested, and I showed uranium in mine."
He showed high in uranium.
Uranium, and she showed cobalt, his wife. And so we're actually currently having their water tested right now at a lab for cobalt, uranium, and a few other things that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the thing. Like, you can throw in the basic systems as a builder, but you still might not get what they want.
Honestly, that makes sense. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an answer.
Call
But
us before they build.
Right. No kidding.
call us.
And then you need to call Mike if you've got property managed or if you need to buy a house or sell a house.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Like anybody I know that is looking for a water softener system or filtration, it's coming to you guys.
Yeah.
So how's the market, like real quick, I know we got to wrap up, like how is the housing market right now? I know my brother's looking for a home.
Yeah,
my brother-in-law is trying to sell. Like is it, how like?
So the market in Utah is very seasonal. Like November, December, January, it's like dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's nobody wants to do it with the snow and with the holidays.
Right.
And so if you're looking for a deal, that's a great time to buy because if you're not selling a home and you're just looking to buy like a first time or whatever, that's usually when you're going to get a really good deal. Spring's coming, like the weather's turning nicer. We've had multiple clients just this week go a lot more active. I'm showing a bunch of houses later this week. So it's definitely picking up. I think what happened is we were all used to 2020, right? Where we just got slammed. We thought we were dead in the water, and then we got so busy we couldn't handle it. And then all these agents got in the market, and all this is easy, right? A couple of years later, the market takes a big downturn, and a lot of agents have left the market now, but people still need to sell. They're moving, or they're going to upsize or downsize or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
And so we've been able to stay afloat because we've had a really great network of people to work with. And so for us, it's been good. Like February is always a time of year that we kind of panic, and we're like, okay, what's the year going to be like? And then it starts to come in. So, but overall, I would say the market's doing better than it has since last year, probably. And I think we're gonna, if we can see interest rates come down, we'll be in better shape too.
And would you say, like, I mean, this is just kind of my, I don't know, my opinion, but like, in my opinion, it's always good to just like buy a house now. It's always like better now than it is in the future, right? Like, I've just watched like even myself. I waited, and like it just ended up costing more. And anyway, the housing market went up higher than I thought it was going to. But yeah,
you know, the thing is like people ask, when's the best time to buy a house, right?
Yeah.
When you can afford it.
Right now. Yeah.
Like if you can afford it right now, you should do it because it's gonna make money over time. If you're gonna buy the house for 2 years and sell it, then don't do it. But if you're looking to keep the house for longer than that, you're gonna make money. And they're like, interest rates are high. Like, yeah, but they could come back down, or they could keep going back up.
Higher, yeah.
And so the best market to work with is what we're currently in.
Yep.
And so because unfortunately we don't have that crystal ball that gives us like, oh, for sure.
Cool.
Right. Well, awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for taking time with us.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Thanks for being a good friend.
Yeah.
You know, we need more friends. You know,
I hear you.
That's what's important.
This was cool. I've never done a podcast. I feel like this is pretty cool.
And next time we'll have to get our other friend on the same podcast as you, Brady.
Yeah.
Brady the plumber.
Brady the plumber. Heard of him?
He's sitting on the side. That's why I keep making comments about him, because we're gonna talk to him in a minute. And so if you see this episode and wonder why we keep talking about Brady, it's because he's in the room.
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Mike.